Welcome back to Dalren Models. So I'm just going to do a quick video on today to show how I do some detail painting and some touch up. So as you can see, I'm starting off with some zero paints semi-gloss black, which is what I painted the steering wheel with, and when I was unmasking I caught part of the steering wheel, and as you can see there, I've removed some of the paint. So if you're careful, you can use the zero paints with a brush to touch up small areas like this. So as you can see, I'm just doing it in thin coats and working from the cap, and letting most of the thinners evaporate from that, so there's more paint there, and then just carefully work it in and build up the layers like that. So as much as you can see with it not picking up the focus properly, it is covering up that dull patch, or that bit that was missing. So when I sort of get it into focus, you can see there now that it's black as it should be, which is what we want. The same process can be used on plastic as well. I mean, this is a resin piece, but you can do it on plastic as well. So next bit is detail painting using LP7 and Mr. Colour levelling thinner. So put a couple of drops of thinners in the lid, and then I can manipulate that to get the right consistency of paint that I want. So I'm going to cover paintbrushes shortly in this video, but for now I'm just going to paint the circular part for the stop start button. I think I showed in the unboxing video, if I remember, that the stop start button decal is black, and on the Quadrifoglio model it's actually a red starter button. It's all of the other models, the more basic models, that have the black starter button. So I'm going to replicate it with paint rather than using the decal, so it's more accurate. So as you can see there, I'm just filling it in. The thinner is doing its job as a levelling thinner to give a nice smooth finish. So you can see there the first coat's done, but I want it a brighter red. So I'm just going to let that dry a little bit and then move back in and give it another coat. So again, my camera's focused in the wrong point, but you can see hopefully what it is that I'm doing in the colour changing there. So there we go, that's that starter button done. So I did another coat after that off camera as well. So moving on to LP4 now, so I can do some actual detail parts in sort of finer detail for the buttons and everything. So there's been questions that I've seen about what size brush you want, and some people go, oh, you want the thinner brush, the smallest brush you can get to get the finest line, but that's not necessarily the case. So you can see there that I've got a very small tip and I've got a one with a much larger tip, and I'm going for the much larger tip one for doing the detail painting, because ultimately it can hold more paint and will then give you a more consistent finish. The important bit is the tip on it, the point that you want a fine point on it. So just off camera, just wiping it on a bit of tissue just to get the point back. So you can see there it's got a nice sharp point to it. So if I bring it onto camera so you can see, and then just very carefully I can start adding the details in that I want on those buttons, and then it just adds a little bit more interest and visual interest into that area. So you can see, even with a big-ish brush, you can, as long as it's got a point to it, you can get very, very fine detail. So I'm using reference photos to work out where I want the lines to be, to give an accurate representation. You're never going to get it looking perfect and exactly what the buttons would be on the 1.1, but just a representation to show that something there is sufficient on this size of it. So I'm just trying to get it in the light so you can actually see what it is that I've done. So in addition, as you can see there, I've done the hazard buttons and some silver painting, and I've also done the heater and air conditioning controls, as you saw in that last bit. So the last bit that I'm going to do is the lettering on the stop start button, and again, I don't need to try and replicate the actual letters individually, just the indication is sufficient for this. So I'm just doing it so I can actually see what I'm doing, rather than trying to look through the camera to do it. But hopefully you get the idea. You can see there what you would have, and so again, looking at reference photos to what it would look like, just in scale. So there you go, that's it for this video. As I said, it will be a short one, so thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you next time.